Welcome back to Under the Surface, everybody. I am so excited for our guest today. We have Cait Grant. She is one of my favorite humans, I think, actually. But Cait is one of my private clients now, but it's been a long journey together. And I wanted to really highlight Cait's story and sort of like her evolution, because when I first met her, years ago, what was this, maybe even closer to 3 years ago, she was in a very different spot, and just watching her evolution as she has learned human design, incorporated human design into her work, both in the corporate world as well as, her own business and leadership and life. And, as a fellow single mom as well, like I feel that camaraderie and like how we use human design in that aspect too, personally. So I'm really excited for this conversation. I think we're going to be able to dive into lots of different, topics, but yeah, Cait, just welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you. Please introduce yourself for anybody who doesn't know you. Like, who are you and what do you do in the world?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And it was 4 years ago that we
Oh,
first
snap.
met
What? Dude, time
before I
flies.
had Lily. I know. So anyway, 4 years ago. So my name's Cait Grant. I exist in the world in many capacities, but my main work outside of being a mother, I'm in real estate. I'm also a coach and a consultant. So I mainly work with creative entrepreneurs and professionals in the service industries to help them to transition into having a more aligned business. I've used human design to help them encompass that. And then also, I have some previous work in somatic therapy. So the body and energetics will always forever be a part of the way that I help people move through the world.
Heck yeah, which I love. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously, I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, well, and tell everyone your human design also.
Oh, yeah. That's great. So I'm a 5-1 pure generator.
What and your cross.
Oh, the left angle cross of upheaval.
Okay, yeah, because I wanted to be as you were introducing yourself, I'm like, where's the upheaval piece? Like, where's the
I
because I feel
know.
like so much of what you do and what you embody is like this you're almost like you provoke people.
Yes. So it's interesting because all of the major placements within my human design are all about judgment and correction and provocation. And then of course that cross of upheaval. So really, I think that, and this is really the depth of human design coming out in the way I move through the world now, is understanding that my greatest gift is seeing the way things are no longer in alignment, seeing the way things aren't working, and then turning it all upside down in a way, in a loving way, of course, because I'm still a Libra. Turn it all upside down and seeing like there's a better way here. There is a much more sustainable, aligned, like good feeling, correct way to continue either this path forward or even down to like systems and procedures. It's a gift. I can say that now. I don't know that I would have said that 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on that note, I feel like that segues right into one of my first questions, which is like, how and when did you first discover human design? And like it sounds like, and I know, just from knowing you, but it's been a journey of sort of peeling back the layers and all of that. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. So I actually first found human design almost a decade ago. I was deep in the trenches of the Enneagram. And a friend of mine was like, "Well, yeah, but what about human design?" And I was like, "What about it?" And she had been doing her own research. And so she tried to explain it to me. And I was like, "No, that's way too complicated. Like, that's way too much." And then a few years later, it had just, timing is everything. It was presented to me again in a very kind of casual way. And being the one line that I am, I was like, "Oh, this is really interesting. Okay, I'm going to start reading about this a little bit." And began just a very personal deep dive into my own chart. But there were so many layers that I still didn't quite understand. Like I thought I knew what it was. I thought I got it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a generator." And I was like typing people, like thought I had some secret wizard power.
I mean, you do with human
I
design.
I do, but I also it's funny to look back because I'm like I was so clueless. Like I thought that it was as easy just be like, "Oh yeah, I get it. Like this is what my type is, this is what my profile is, and here's all of the stereotypes of like this and this is the box that I fit in and this is the box that you fit in." So it was like my first kind of the way that I was first working with it was still from a space of limitation. And then as I continued diving in a little deeper, and I think a lot of it really was through social media because I was aware of Ra and some of his teachings through Jovian Archive, and I had listened to a few audios of just kind of the top layers of type. But it was really through Instagram that that's where I was introduced to you. And I was following a couple other specialists that were really digging into some of the deeper layers and realized, oh my gosh, there's so much more here than I ever realized. And this was probably 5 years ago that I really was like 5 or 6 that I really started to dive into it. Cause I remember my first daughter was like 2 and she's almost 8 now. So yeah, probably 6 years ago. And my first like actual formal education was when I jumped into Embodied by Design with you. And it just like blew the lid off of it even more in the most beautiful way, where I was like, I knew there was so much more here. And I really, as an investigator, as somebody who, I have a defined head, defined ajna, very into the information, like love that security. And I still could only get so far on my own understanding. Like I needed that group of people to respond to interact with, and to just really dive deeper into like my understanding and, for lack of a better term, my embodiment of what human design really meant, like on an energetic level. And then that, segued me into diving into gene keys and, kind of different layers of human design that are expressed in different ways. And as I mentioned, like prior to this, my background was in somatic therapy. And so I had already done many years of studying nervous system regulation and breath work and somatic embodiment. And once I started kind of connecting the dots of the way the energy moves through our bodies and how we can see that and see some of those blockages just in a body chart and understanding the centers, it was like, it was the most exciting connection. All of the things, it was like all of these modalities that I had been studying for a decade, where they seemed to be a little bit siloed. In my depth of like human design through EBD, I was like, no, these all, like, they're all the same. They're all the same thing. They all work together so beautifully. It was like kind of that missing puzzle piece that brought it together for me.
I love that. And I think the way that I look at it too is like, you know, you could be an energy healer, you could be a nutritionist, you could be a therapist, you could be a business coach, right? Like that could be your thing. But there's human design gives you that like context. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, what are you actually doing though? Like there's something deeper that you're doing, whether it's like, like you talk a lot about guiding people through transitions, you know?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
also talk a lot about like optimizing things and like, so it's almost like this deeper flavor of your purpose. And then your modality or your expertise or your niche is sort of like the vehicle, you know?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was a long time and I think that I see so many people kind of spiraling in this questioning of, well, what is my purpose? What is this one thing that I'm supposed to do? And being the existential humans that we are, like that's probably a never ending question. But human design helped me find a sense of peace and like, my purpose isn't this job. My purpose isn't something that is attached to a job title or on a business card. It is the essence of who I am. It is that common thread that I can see woven in everything that I've ever done. And so, human design, when I first used it in like a quote unquote practical way, was when I was a realtor and I was wanting to do business in a way that felt different. I wasn't a single mom at the time, but I was a mom of a young daughter and I didn't want to put her in daycare, and had all of these like real estate bros telling me, because you gotta hustle, you gotta door knock, you gotta hold endless open houses. And I was like, I just know there's a different way. That's why I got into real estate. I know there's a different way. But I didn't really know until I started applying what I was learning about my human design type into, okay, I'm a generator and I need to respond. And like, what does that mean for how I network? The way that I solve problems for people and how they're drawn to me for that. Okay, I can use that in my messaging. That's one of my biggest strengths as a realtor is how I educate and empower my clients to understand the process and like looking and leaning into all of these little aspects of what were unique to my chart and emphasizing that is like, this is why I stand out as an agent in an oversaturated market of realtors. And it changed everything. Like it went from me trying to, I mean, like sort of successfully doing it the way I was told to doing it really well with ease and kind of being like, oh, I just have to be more me. Duh.
Right.
And I
I
have
know,
had
but
that same realization.
we're always looking outside of ourselves for that too. Like, how do I be more me? Someone tell me how to be more me, you know? Which, like, I mean, I do it too sometimes. Like, I'm just like, give me the information. So, is that like just out of curiosity, is that kind of like what drew you to Embodied by Design specifically, as far as like training in human design and learning more about that? Like, was it that embodiment piece then?
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
was. And I think that it was like seeing the way that I could use human design in a like and I say practical in quotes only because like it obviously served me in so many more ways than just like, oh, how to pivot my messaging. But that was something where I was like, oh, I very clearly can see the path of like, I learned this, I made these shifts towards the way that I'm designed, and then this really amazing result happened. So I was like, if I can do that and like making these tiny little tweaks here, what's possible for my clients in different ways? And so I started my coaching business while I was still selling real estate. So it was like I also kind of got to use it in two very different capacities. But the experience in my own shifts is what made me see the potential of I want to use this in a coaching capacity. And that's where EBD was a huge draw for me because I didn't just want to learn how to read a chart and regurgitate the information. And I had had people read my chart that were like Jovian readers, where they spend years and years and years doing the education. And I'd looked into that and it just didn't feel exciting to me in the same way as like helping to helping people to honestly make really big shifts because that's what I'm here to do, right? Like it's not just looking at the chart and saying, "Oh, this is all the great things about you and your design." Like I also got to weave in my own gifts and my own design into the way that I interacted with their chart, and I feel like that was so much more magical than this one-sided like, well, if you're a projector, this is you're here to guide and your energy does this. Like that didn't feel impactful to me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear that for sure. And I think that's why like I love one of my favorite parts about EBD honestly is like how many different uh expertise like niches we
Yes,
get. Like we get like
so
so
many.
many different kinds of people that join under like with this common denominator of like wanting to embody your human design and use it in your business and your work with clients, of course, but like yeah, it's not about reading the chart. It's
No.
about actually like facilitating transformation for yourself and others. So I love that you said that. Okay, so you talked about like some of the results that you got like sort of in the beginning and as you went through the training and you're doing your real estate. How has that evolved over time? Like how has human design like served you over time? Like what has the ripple effect been? Because, you and I have been working together for 6 months privately too. So like I've watched you completely fucking reinvent yourself again, like literally your whole life. And, of course, like we always use your human design as like our guiding post, right? So I know that, but can you speak more to that, like from your perspective?
Human design has given me the courage to claim the life that I've always wanted. I think that that is the number one takeaway for me. And, I went through EBD and then spent some time transitioning a little bit in life. And that was also during COVID. I just paused there because I was like, I don't even remember what happened. It was that black hole, that nobody remembers anything. And then I went to work weekend. So also I'm like, Crystal, you've also just been a huge facilitator in all of these shifts. I went to work weekends thinking that I was going to do something honestly quite different than what I am doing now. And I went to work weekend being tired of my own shit. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna start my own brokerage. I'm gonna build this whole
Dude,
beautiful
I
real estate
forgot about
brand.
that. I forgot that that's why you came to work weekend. And that was a year ago almost. Or no,
Yeah,
yeah, a year ago.
yeah, just now. It was either March or April of last year. And I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. And I was like, I'm done with coaching, like I'm leaving that behind. And I'm here to optimize and I'm gonna build this beautiful thing and the reason is that I saw all of the ways that brokerages were not supporting their agents, right? Because like this whole time, like I kind of took a step back from my somatic coaching business to have my second daughter. And then I focused back on real estate. And in that, I was like, there's just a better way. Like I know there's a better way, and I'm gonna be the one that's gonna build it. Like so, so generator of me. And then I started on that path, and every response to the opportunity, like, okay, now I'm going to go and like finish my broker's education to get my license. And it was like, no, this doesn't feel right. And now I'm going to do this. And everything that, like, originally the idea of changing the industry, quite frankly, really lit me up. And I was like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to turn this shit on its head. And I'm going to make sure that my realtors that come under my brokerage feel supported and empowered, and they're doing business their own way. And we're always coming back to like their deeper reason of why they're here. And I want it to be a bunch of badass women that are raising their kids to live life differently. And again, going into like, it wasn't about being a broker, it was all of the things that I envisioned were going to facilitate and come from what I wanted to create. And so in the last year, specifically in the last 6 months of like our one-on-one work and really diving into my human design on another layer, even is recognizing that, building a brokerage isn't exactly that's not the vehicle that was right for me or correct for me. But the same dream, that same like in my body to just remind people that like there's a better fucking way. You can build your business so much better, so much more sustainably. You get to live the life you want to live and still bring in money and be with your kids. And like you don't have to feel trapped or preyed on by the patriarchy, by your employer. Like, and during this whole transition too, I've shifted back and forth between being an employee, being a contractor, working for myself. And so also simultaneously feeling all of these different external energies and pressures and wanting to really facilitate that jumping point, like that transition point for people. Like, I know you're right here and you might not see it, but you feel it. There's something more. Like, let's go there. Let's go there together. And acknowledging my gifts that I have been conditioned my whole life to see as faults has been a huge one that like still is sinking in even in these last couple of weeks of every time I've been an employee and I have acknowledged and noticed systems that did not work or processes that were so much harder and more cumbersome that they needed to be, pointing out the frustrations and like if we made these little shifts, like this would solve all these problems and like everything would feel a little lighter, a little easier. And a lot of times being met with like, well, who do you think you are? Like, we've been using that process for 15 years. Like, and really being told, this is not your place. Sit down, be quiet. Like, we want your advice. We want your perspective. We want you to see the things until we don't. And when we don't, now it's a you problem. And there's something wrong with the way that your brain operates. And there's something wrong with the way that you see the world. And you should shut that down. So it was like so much of my adult life seeing all of these things and honestly feeling like an owl where I was just like, I see it, I see it, I see it. Okay, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to do anything. And on some level, it's not my responsibility to fix everything, but very
All the
much.
5 lines, by the way, all the 5 line profiles listening right now are like, holy shit, she's describing my whole life, especially 5 ones, right?
Right, exactly. And that extra
Yeah.
projection of like, you can fix everything. Oh, now that we hear the things you want to fix, we feel way too triggered and we don't want you to fix anything. We hate you. Get out of our lives. Shut up. Be quiet. Like, we're going to silence you.
Yeah.
And that has been a recurring theme, especially in my professional world. And now to be able to step out and be like, these are my greatest gifts. This is my magic. And life and experience and maturity, like I know the ways not to present the things that I see, but I also like I'm here to speak the things that I see. I'm here to turn things upside down a little bit for the better. And I want to do that for visionaries, people that know that they're here to make an impact, that they're here for an impact driven business. And they're like, okay, I've got my vision. I know where I'm going, but there's something that just doesn't feel right. Or it's harder than it needs to be. There's resistance there. Like, well, great. I can see all of those things that are in the way, all of those obstacles I can see within like 5 minutes of a conversation and looking at your chart.
Yeah, I totally I relate to that too. I always say like human design just cuts through so much and allows you to be so much more efficient in pointing things out. And I think especially for you because you're just so naturally a problem solver. Like I don't necessarily see problems, like you do as a 1-3. Like I'm just like, what problems? Um, what do you mean? But yeah, and it's interesting because like a lot of times your greatest gift is also your biggest curse,
Yeah,
because especially when you like internalize it and you're just like, well, let me find all the things wrong with me and let me fix everything about myself.
yeah,
So I love that you
totally.
said that. Like it's like, okay, well, I just need like the right time and the right audience to unleash these gifts, and
Yeah,
then they are gifts and not a curse. So, like, on a sort of practical, I'm doing air quotes for those of you listening, on a sort of practical level now, like, what do you feel like have been, what's a good way to put this? I guess like how are you now that you've transitioned in so many ways, like what you're doing with your work in the world and how you're sort of positioning yourself and like you're really sort of like expanding and elevating into other realms of
yeah.
your work and your leadership. How are you now infusing human design into all of that? Like how has it helped you really clarify and like on a practical level, how are you communicating that, I guess?
That's a great question.
Like through your offers and like,
Yeah,
because I know for me, it's like these are things that are so embodied that, I'm like, okay, well, as a manifester, as a, these different aspects of myself, I'm like, I really do great as a stranger of consequence. I know I do great, on a stage and then like dipping out or whatever. So it's like these sort of things that I know about myself and being able to communicate that through different offers or like the way that I show up. I'm curious, like your experience of that, with
yeah.
your design.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things that has become very, very glaringly obvious to me is that I'm really wonderful at like jumping into a situation with a client. And this could be on an individual or on like a more kind of broad business aspect and coming in more as like a consultant where I've got sort of a little bit of a separation to be able to see and allow like my gifts to shine. And I love working more on that, like I said, kind of impact driven entrepreneurial space because then I can also help them understand through their own design the way that they're interacting with their business and the way that you can pinpoint certain potential obstacles, or this is where the embodiment and even the somatic piece comes in, being able to acknowledge parts of the design that we have where like, okay, you might be predisposed to having certain mindset concerns in this issue in this area based on whatever your chart or your gates, your centers. And so things that I offer with my clients, like I have a clarity session, which is kind of like the first gateway, the first entry point of my work with clients. And so in that, I take a look at their chart. So we consult their human design. It's not a reading, but we look at their design and there's an intake form with all of the things that they're, kind of like the pain points, so to say, like what's feeling off in your business, like what's feeling off in your personal life, where's your mindset at, what are some of the fears and insecurities that you're dealing with, and where do you want to go, like where are we trying to get to. And this is sort of an accelerated experience where we spend 90 minutes, and I very practically can look at this and be like, okay, here's the issues, here's some very simple, easy, low hanging fruit, like here's some of the next steps. And for some people that's enough, like maybe there's just a few shifts that they need to make in their mindset. Like for example, I was talking to a realtor a couple weeks ago, and the issue that she was having was that she just loves to spend all of her time staging homes because she mostly lists homes for sale, and her business is fully referral based. So she has like word of mouth, which is amazing. It's like creme de la creme in the real estate world. But she's like, all of these people are sending me their referrals, but I hate the whole like introduction, sit down and have coffee and like, do the thing. She's like, I'm a great closer. Like, I know once they get to know me, like they're gonna work with me, but I just dread that whole essentially intake process. That's my word for it. And so it was just a very easy shift. I was like, okay, what if you put a Calendly link on your website so they can just sign up for a consultation? Once they get referred to you, you can either send them a video, like a quick video message or a voice message as an introduction, or even put a video on your website. And then they just sign up to do a coffee with you. So then they're serious, they know they like you. It's on your calendar. You don't have to feel bogged down by it. And then the conversation is easy peasy, and you know that you're going to close it because you just said that. And she was like, oh my God, can I do that? That would be so easy. And it was
Yeah.
like this weird shift because she was like, well, no, like realtors don't use like a scheduling tool. And I was like, who cares? You can. Like, and yes, they do use a scheduling tool. Actually, I know a lot of realtors that use a scheduling tool. So it was like this weird, just kind of disconnect of her. Weird's not the right reason word, but like it was just this minor disconnect where she was like, well, that feels more like an industry that's different from mine. And it was very like, that nobody does it that way. Like, but you can do it that way. She was like,
We
yeah,
love
that's
our
so,
boxes.
yeah, exactly. And like, I know I love my boxes. That's why I need to hire you to like pull me out of my box. So, like, that was something so simple. And she's also a projector. And so being able to help her feel really like safe in the way that her energy flows, where she's like feeling burnt out because she's trying to move through the world like a generator. She loves what she does, but like that, she gets this energy to guide, which is how she guides her clients to like prepare and list their home. And she's brilliant at it. She has a design background. But all the other things like bog her down, and she's trying to like run this business as a one woman show. And so it was like, well, you can just implement a couple of very simple things, which will save your energy for what you love the most. And then down the road, like consider hiring somebody, whatever, when you're ready to scale. But it was really just, it was like, it wasn't even 2 hours, right? Like it was 45 minutes of that conversation of us talking about her energy, her feeling so validated that, oh, I don't have to work like a generator, right? And that wasn't her language. It was just like, oh, I don't have to hustle my ass off and be exhausted all the time. No, you don't. And we can set your business up in a way that prevents you from having to feel that pressure.
Yeah, I love that. And just for everyone listening who's like, okay, I really need this session. There's like a way, we'll put a link for that in the show notes for the clarity session. But yeah, it's so interesting too because and I know like for somatic therapy, I'm sure like you know this so well, but that validation piece, that feeling
Yeah.
seen and understood and validated, to me, that's what creates the safety. And you can't actually make a change if you don't feel safe. Like if
Yeah.
your system does not feel safe and seen, and like it's going to be really, really challenging for you to make any kind of change. It's going to be challenging for you to even receive information. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I find that like helping people through showing them these things in their charts is like very almost like disarming.
It is. It is. And I think it brings in this layer of self-compassion that we all need so deeply, especially when we're doing things that we've never done before. And, so much of human design for me was a remembering of my strengths, remembering my gifts, remembering who I really am, and then kind of really having to acknowledge my fear and trepidation and moving towards that and noticing like, ugh, like this feels scary. And then the mindset comes in, but like keep continuing to go back to the truth of my design has been so crucial. And I think that more than anything in my sessions with people, they might even come in thinking they've got some big problem that needs to be fixed or optimized. And really at the end of it, they're like, oh, I just needed to know that I'm not crazy. I just needed to realize and feel this like permission slip to keep thinking in the way that I already do and do things the way that I already wanted to. Like, we're just so conditioned not to listen to our gut, to our intuition, to follow our knowing, to completely ignore our strategy. And it's like this, the spiral, right? Like it's the spiraling up where we're going to keep coming back and hitting these same layers over and over again at different depths. But we all need these reminders that the way that we are designed to be is perfect exactly how it is. Really, it's necessary for us all to be operating in the authentic ways that we were designed to operate because we work together so much better and there's so much less resistance in the world and in ourselves. And that sense of like, I just feel so seen. Like, I'm just so glad. Like, I just get to be me. I think that that's invaluable.
Amen. I mean, that's literally it. That's what everybody's looking
Yeah.
for. It's like we say we want this and that and this and that. At the end of the day, we all just want to feel completely supported in being ourselves.
Yes.
So that's pretty much
It
it.
is safe to be you. It's safe to be
Yep,
you.
100%. Okay, this has been wonderful. You're wonderful. And I want
So are
other
you.
people to experience you and your work and your unique flavor on things. So tell everyone how they can get in touch with you, how they can find you and work with you.
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram. My handle is at Cait M. Grant, Cait, the letter M Grant. I also have a podcast, Courageous Growth. So you can either find that on Spotify or Apple, or I do have a separate Instagram account at Courageous Growth Pod. So either of those, you can find me there. I've got links to all of my offerings, the clarity sessions. I also have a free workbook that I put together called the Growth Blueprint,
It's so good.
which thank
It's so
you.
good.
I love it so much. It's like a 7-page workbook that just moves you starting from your why, moves you towards clarity and understanding like where you are, where you're letting maybe some mindsets and stories and some conditioning of your human design hold you back and how to begin moving forward. So that's a great place to start. And then jumping into a clarity session is just an even deeper, juicier dive into all of that.
Love that. Love the juice. And
Yeah.
last question is, any final like words about embodied by design and sort of like, your experience of it or what it's done for you, or any words for people who are like, okay, yeah, I think this might be for me, but maybe they're nervous.
Yeah, I totally get it if you're on the fence. I remember feeling a little intimidated by investing in myself, both in the time of the program and also the finances and jumping in. Like, I listened to my sacral yes. It was screaming to me. And I still reference stuff that I learned in EBD. I mean, I even recently was asking Crystal, like, hey, I'm looking for this recording that was like you did through Embodied by Design. It's so much more than learning about human design. Like, of course, that's part of it. And I think that Crystal, you are such an amazing teacher in a way that I've never experienced somebody teach before, because it's like you don't even really realize that you're learning from you. Like, I don't even have the right words to describe that style, but I never felt like I was sitting in a classroom, like learning through a lecture. It was like, oh, wow, it was always so embodied through you. But
Oh
I
my God,
think
I
that,
love that. Thank you.
and I think the cohort, like having the other people in the class that was a part that I initially wasn't sure was going to be helpful because I've been in group programs before where the group aspect of it didn't really add a ton of value to like my learning. And I will say that the group piece of EBD was instrumental. So, and especially as like a 5-1, so like that investigator side of me, to really understand and hear people's perspectives and like reflecting back, like I got a deeper understanding of the information so much better, especially through the lens of like coaching and interacting with other people, right? Because EBD is like equipping you to use the information in the real world, either like as a parent, as a leader, as a coach, in whatever your job is, whatever you are doing as a human. So of course, like interacting with other people in that makes it's just so juicy. It's so great. And I met the most amazing women.
I love that. Thank you so much for all of that feedback. And I'm excited for this new iteration too, because now there are options like for the people who are like, I want nothing to do with anyone else. I want to do it on my own time, by myself, self-guided. We have that as an option now, but we also still have the weekly like office hours, practice sessions, like come together, let's learn from each other. So yeah, I'm excited. Thank you so much for
You're
your
welcome.
time, for your
Yes.
energy, for your love. And go check out Cait, go check out, everything she does in the world, all her offerings. And as always, rate, review, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Send us a DM if you love this episode, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.